Top of the morning to you, everyone. Welcome. Here we are for our last pre-market prep session of the week. We got YouTube to comply. So we're here getting 1% better, just like we are each and every session. During this morning session, what we do is go over the important news, notes, analysis, everything that's key to make sure you maintain profitability, and that you're, paying attention to the right things and analyzing things correctly. Due to kind of extenuating circumstances, you might see a puppy bopping around in the background. Hopefully, she doesn't make too much noise with the toys and everything, because she didn't go into the crate quite yet. But I'm excited to get into what we have going on today. And just like I said in the description, big payday yesterday, right? Nvidia, SPY, FCX. SMH, right? A number of different MU, right? Micron, can't forget about Micron, the biggest of the day. A number of different, plays coming through to the tune of hundreds of percent profit. So I'm not looking to give any of that back. I'm not looking to rush into anything. I'm looking to see what the day has for us and continuing to fill out the picture of markets. This price action is painting. So as always, 31s in the chat signifying your intention to get 1% better by the end of this session. And let's dive into what we have going on today. Our top news is pieces of eight. So investors are telling a story in the latest adaptation of Treasure Island, where one doesn't have to be a buccaneer to turn a profit. The quest for precious metals has led to new heights in 2024, with gold nearly reaching $2,700 an ounce for the first time ever. Other shiny objects are close behind, benefiting from a Federal Reserve that has returned its cutlass to its scabbard after calling time on higher interest rates. Long investor silver outperforming its cousin in recent weeks. Spot silver has officially topped spot gold's year-to-date returns after hitting its highest level since December 2012. Silver is also used for industrial purposes like solar panels and EV batteries and is relatively cheap in ounces when compared to pricey gold. However, the year-to-date rally of both of the metals has been impressive. Silver up 34% and gold up 29%, outperforming the 20% gain of the benchmark S&P 500 index. Other reasons for the precious metal boom have been central banking buying and safe haven demand. Geopolitical and economic uncertainty have increased in the post-COVID era amid heavy debt loads seen across the globe, as well as wars and sanctions that have made many nations wary of the U.S. dollar. The greenback and bond yields are also big factors in the equation, while institutional and the retail crowd have not wanted to miss out on one of the year's best momentum trades. Don't forget gold bars from Costco. Shiver Me Timbers, quote, according to Bank of America, gold has surpassed the euro to become the second largest reserve asset after the US dollar. Wrote seeking out for analyst Dave Kranzler, adding that demand is being boosted by the BRIC and Eastern Hemisphere alliance of countries. Quote, gold now represents 16% of global bank reserves. The dollar represents roughly 58% of central bank reserves, down from over 70% since 2002. Yeah, I mean, gold's been on a tear, and we've been keeping an eye on gold, and that was something I mentioned recently with the volume that we are seeing on gold-related tickers. So gold doing its thing and chugging higher, and for it to outpace what the S&P has done this year, right? Precious metals have been holding it down. In terms of tech news, Intel developments, Intel, right, is set to finalize an agreement with the U.S. government for $8.5 billion in direct funding by the end of this year under the CHIPS Act. While the talks are at an advanced stage, any takeover of the company or a portion of it could scuttle discussions. There's also been a lot of takeover speculation surrounding Intel, with the latest media report indicating that the chipmaker rebuffed an approach by ARM Holdings for its product division. Meanwhile, Qualcomm is said to be interested in M&A, while Apollo offered to invest $5 billion in the company. So, yeah, I mean, the CHIPS Act news that we had already heard about, just us trying to bolster our local, right, our domestic semiconductor endeavors. Intel just habitually underperforms when it comes to this AI race and the semiconductor, glut that's been going on. And hopefully this $8.5 billion, I mean, I don't even know why I'm saying hopefully, because it's like I really don't care what happens to Intel. But they're hoping that, they can get this money and funding. And maybe they can get the money and funding, like if they can get all this chip stuff, like CHIPS Act stuff locked in, then maybe they just wait till afterward for any type of M&A deal. Because they're set to finalize the agreement by the end of this year. So if you just say, hey, let's table these acquisition talks, as long as they're not, time relevant, table these acquisition talks until next year, You get the 8.5 billion and you get whatever investment or merger or whatever you want right after that. That's what I do. Does this make me want to look at Intel? No. I still am not concerned at all with looking at Intel. Intel's been beat down. I can check on it here, but I had no real interest in Intel previously, and I've just been letting it get destroyed. It had a, big old rising wedge, and we fired down out of it, and it just has fired, bear flags since then. It looks like, honestly, doesn't look horrible here because we might be firing a nice weekly double bottom here this week, it looks like, finally. And we have a gap above. So, Intel can push up to close this gap potentially back to around 29, that 28.89 area. So if there is news of an acquisition, it's just I don't know if they turn down $8.5 billion just for the sake of being acquired. It seems like that would be the best because there's no strings attached. So I feel like I'd wait out for that. But Intel in a better spot than it has been over the course of the past year and a half with this weekly double bottom that it looks to be firing, right? So it's turned and started to burn. And if we close this week above $22.12 per share, Intel can continue up and possibly close this gap here to 29 that we left after they got gobsmacked from earnings. Um, let's see here. Inflation preferred gauge. The Federal Reserve's 50 basis point interest rate cut has displayed policymakers' confidence that inflation is sustainably heading toward their 2% goal. This morning, they'll get new data in the August personal income and outlays report on any further progress. Quote, everything is looking good so far, Christopher Clark, assistant professor of economics at Washington State University, told Seeking Alpha. Quote, I don't see any reason on the inflation side for any more negative news. Wednesday's revision of Q2 GDP was also encouraging in that the Q2 PCE figures showed no revisions. So that's solid, right? That's solid. So we'll see what PCE data we get here this morning. That data actually should have come out already. Let's see if it's had any material effect on price action thus far or no. Let's see, 8:30. Looks like we popped and then just we popped a little bit and came right back down. So let me see here. Mm, trying to see what exactly this PCE data was. Okay. Looks like okay. US PCE price index month over month actual up 0.1%, estimated 0.1%. So that was right in line with expectations. US PCE price index year over year actual 2.2%. And then we expected 2.3%. So that's good, right? Generally, that's positive. Core PCE price index actual was 0.1% increase. We expected 0.2. And then core PCE year over year 2.7 and we expected 2.7. So overall, like leaning bullish, and then we had a few like slight positive surprises in inflation being less than what we thought it would be in terms of estimations. So that could translate into bullish price action here this morning. We'll have to wait and see. As of right now, those SPY has been kind of a mess of a chop fest. And we'll see if we can get any movement with some momentum out of it or not. But like I said last night during Q&A, it's pretty amazing that we've been able to squeeze hundreds of percent profit out of SPY, given the movement that we've seen on it over the course of, the past 2 weeks, which has been negligible, right? And really an account destroyer if you don't know what you're doing. And that's why if you don't know what you're doing, you need to make sure that you learn, that you also get in a community where you can extrapolate their mindset without having to make those decisions and possibly never coming through to those breakthroughs at all. Where people kind of assume, like, oh, if I do something myself and I get experience, I will make breakthroughs. That's not true, right? There's a lot that we do in order to make the breakthroughs that we do and develop the systems that we have. Most people are way too lazy to do that. Most people, they run into an issue and time passes, they run into the same issue, time passes, and they never figure out how to beat it, right? One thing about me is that I'm going to develop a way, right? I'm going to develop a system. I'm going to develop some sort of edge. But it's no guarantee that you get that, right? So that's another thing that you get being a part of a community is that, there are things that you would probably never discover that have been discovered, right? And you don't want to take that gamble of saying, oh, well, once I get 8 years of experience under my belt, or once I get, 3 or 4 years, why do that? Right? You can get that distilled down. You can get 4 years of trading a Fed day or 5 years of trading elections or any of that, right? You get that distilled down to a simple conversation. And that's why you can't be putting yourself in position, right? In an environment that allow you to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So healthcare news, final approval. The FDA has cleared Bristol Myers Squibb's, ticker BMY, novel treatment for adults with the psychiatric disorder schizophrenia. BMY shares rose over 6% on the news in early trading on Friday. Cobenfy, previously known as CAR-XT, was added to the pharma giant's pipeline following its $14 billion acquisition of Karuna Therapeutics in March. Quote, this drug takes the first new approach to schizophrenia treatment in decades, declared Tiffany Farchion, director of the Division of Psychiatry, Office of Neuroscience, and the FDA's Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. I guess shout out to BMY. Like I said, whenever news comes out, like I'm not chasing anything, so that doesn't mean I'm gonna go and check out BMY or anything like that. We've traded them before. I just have no real use in trading them now. We can pop in and see what's happening and if that 6% takes them to any spot that might be intriguing. Let's see here. We got old drawings to remove. You know what? It's funny. I keep saying, "Oh, not interested," but these little bits of news are kind of taking these tickers to areas that I would be interested. Let's see. Yeah, that's actually really funny. Yeah, I mean, BMY, if we can close over 51.19 by the end of the day today, we fire a nice weekly bull flag on BMY. So surprisingly, this news actually isn't something, it's not like I'm chasing it, but we are getting over an area in this 51 area that we have struggled with for months on BNY. So that actually is, mildly interesting there. In terms of today's markets, mixed bag in Asia, Japan up 2.3, Hong Kong up 3.6, China up 2.9, India down 0.3, London we're up zero point 0.4, Paris up 0.2, Frankfurt up 0.9, the Dow down 0.1%, S&P down 0.1, Nasdaq down 0.3, crude up 0.2, gold down 0.3, Bitcoin up 1.9%. Today's economic calendar, consumer sentiment at 10. That'll work out for that. That'll be important. Where is this baby? All right here. So consumer sentiment at 10. You want to keep an eye out for that. And then what else is happening? We got our rapid fire stock news rundown here to close us out. OpenAI CEO says executive departure is not related to restructuring. And then Helene misses main energy producing areas in Gulf of Mexico. Citigroup and Apollo team up for $25 billion private credit program. Oil turns sharply lower on report Saudi Arabia set to raise output. China stimulus propels blue chip stocks in best week since 2008. Supermicro, ticker SMCI shares tumble on word of DOJ investigation. Major Trump media, ticker DJT, shareholders dumps nearly entire state. Southwest, ticker Love, LUV takes off after guidance update and buyback plan. And then Robinhood, ticker Hood, mulls potential launch of its own stable coin. And that'll wrap us up. Put a little gift bow on it and take us out for this week. Been a nice and extremely profitable week. We want to keep our eyes on what markets do over the course of, this next few weeks. We know typically the market will, on average, go up for the next 25 days around 4 to 5% when interest rates are dropped. Does that mean that we get that? No. We also know that typically the market goes down for a significant period after that, right? Does that guarantee we'll get that? No. But it's important to understand and have expectations set so that you are ready to proactively position before the move gets there, just like we did on the S&P, just like we did on, the chip sector ETF, SMH, just like we did on NVIDIA, just like we did on Micron, right? Being there before the crowd is there, before the headlines are made. That's what we do here within the stock options made easy community, right? And we do that by getting 1% better. So make sure you take some time this weekend to earn the weekend, get 1% better, right? Do a little bit here, a little bit there. So you can feel good about whatever you end up doing in your leisure time. And we'll reconvene back here on Monday for our next pre-market prep session. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.